What's up, everyone? Welcome to the God's Heart, Your Part podcast, where we are all about equipping and inspiring next generation leaders to be all that God has called them to be. Hey, we're so pumped that you are joining us here today. It's no accident. It's going to be an amazing episode. Before we get into it, I want to let you know if you want to help support the podcast, there's a Patreon that will be linked in the description. You'll get access to exclusive content, and so we'd love to have you join the fam. But without further ado, let's dive into today's episode together. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast where we are all about inspiring and empowering the next generation of leaders to be all that God has called them to be. With me today, I have a very special guest who has become a good friend through the years. I've known him for about 4 or 5 years now, and he is an innovator, an entrepreneur. He also is a leader within our church and somebody of immense integrity who I look up to and respect. And so if you want to, drop a little clap in the comments for Taylor, wave,
No,
say hello.
stop, go on.
You want a
No,
little bit
what's
more
up?
affirmation?
That was a quite a standard of an introduction that I don't know if I'm going to be able to live up to, sir.
Oh, I have all the confidence in the world, my friend. Taylor, you and I always have very serious and then super goofy conversations all in one. And so I would expect nothing less out of this chat with you today.
Right. Are you expecting the more goofy stuff or the more serious stuff?
Just be you, man. Whatever you want.
Okay, great.
Okay, so to kick it off, I kind of gave my version of who is Taylor, but who is Taylor to Taylor? Tell us about yourself.
Who is Taylor to Taylor? Well, my name is Taylor. I am a Jesus follower. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm a business owner. And I have a lot of different passions and a lot of different interests and a lot of things that I love. I'm a super nerd. I love all things like nerdy, weird, but
do you
really? Yeah, dude.
I didn't know that about you.
Superheroes, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter. Dude, I'm a boss at Harry Potter trivia. Give me any question, I know the answer.
Well, I don't know Harry Potter, so I can't.
Right. Were you allowed to read Harry Potter when you were a child, Brandon?
Oh, no, definitely not.
Right. Yeah. Growing up, I was the guy who my mom came and took me out of school in the middle of the day to go see the first showing at. They used to not have like midnight premieres of movies.
Okay.
It used to happen at noon on Friday. And so when like a new Harry Potter movie came out, she would take me out of school at lunchtime to go see the new Harry Potter movies. And then back in the day, the books would come out. There would be parties at Barnes and Noble.
What?
For a midnight release of the book. And my mother would take me to that. And then normally I would get the book. We would go home. And then I would stay up all night and read it before I went to school the next day.
What? Are you serious?
Yeah.
Shout out Taylor's mom.
But yeah, I mean, but honestly, I just have a passion for helping people, love people.
Yeah.
And I don't like it when people are struggling with anything at all.
Yeah.
And most people would call me somewhat of a fixer. Mm-hmm. And so I like fixing things.
Yeah.
Whether that be situations or helping people or whatever it is. But yeah, that's what I would say I am.
I love that. That's amazing. You mentioned your father, cutest kids. They certainly love their toy cars. And I learned that when I came over for dinner. It was a good time. Tell everybody a little bit about your podcast. I had the honor of being on your podcast a little while ago, but tell people about that and what you do there.
Yeah, so I have a podcast that we're actually in between like seasons right now. We're taking a little break because one of my co-hosts, Corey, had a baby. And so we're getting through that and then we're going to start it back up. But it's called Ordinary Believers. And we have weird, interesting conversations with pastors, people about things that are interesting that don't necessarily get talked about a whole lot.
Yeah.
So we did like a whole series around the Holy Spirit. And who is the Holy Spirit? And we had an entire episode about like weird, quote unquote, weird things like speaking in tongues. We had an episode around prophecy, trying to just understand it and none of us are theologians or pastors or been to Bible school or anything. We're just ordinary people who do have a belief and faith in God, and we want to continue that and deepen it and have conversations that just don't happen very often or
Yeah.
as much as they should.
I love that. That's amazing. What a good plug. I also really respect that you just said Corey had a baby and we're, quote, trying to get through that as if it is a burden. So I think
Yes.
that is great.
It's been a real strain on me. His wife having a baby, like it is what it is.
The toll it took on you must have been immense.
Right.
I can't imagine. What you drinking in that cup over there with that solo cup you got there, Taylor?
Well, for this podcast, I'm drinking water.
Oh, wink.
No, it actually is water.
I love that. I love that. Very cool. So a few months back, my now wife Kendall and I were at your house for dinner, and you made the best steaks known to mankind. And during our dinner discussion, you were talking with us about this idea that I want to dive into today of taking chances in life. How do you see a risk maybe, but have the boldness to take a step in spite of the risk? And man, your passion for that was very, very clear. And so I want to just open that up for you and dive in a little bit specifically and think within the context of, okay, maybe a little bit younger emerging leaders, right? It can be really intimidating whenever you start to get responsibility to know, how do I make the right decisions and how do I decipher through all the input to make decisions? So I don't know if you want to speak a little bit to how to make decisions even whenever you see a risk.
Yeah, that's a broad question, Brandon. I think the biggest thing for me is that I personally believe that anyone is basically capable of anything. Mm-hmm. If you have a dream, then you can achieve it. And it's not like this whole like American dream, like go to high school, go to college, get a job for 40 years, go on a vacation a year and then retire. Like that's not what I'm talking about. It's more of like, if you want to be, if you really, really love frogs and you really want to do something in your life with frogs, then like you just have to figure out how to get there. Mm-hmm. And you can replace the word frogs with literally anything in life. Frogs came up. I don't know why.
Of course.
But all of those things are going to take some risk. Mm-hmm. There's going to be some careful decisions that you have to make. And I think when I look at things, I just look at people and because of owning some businesses and different things, like people come to me and they're like, hey, I want to try this, or I'm thinking about doing this, or I'm thinking about doing this. And a lot of times the question that gets referred back to me is like, what's wrong with it? Like, tell me what you think of it and tell me what's wrong with it so I can fix it before I do it.
Wow. Yeah.
And I really, really don't like that because there's this idea, think of a rocket ship, okay? Mm-hmm. And I realize like in the real literal world, you have to make sure everything's right. But what I care about is if I take a rocket ship and I build it all and I spend billions of dollars and I do everything and then I hit the launch button and it doesn't go anywhere. You're still at the same place you're at. It's just you've wasted billions of dollars and years of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you take that same rocket ship and you just find the biggest engine you can put on it, you put some rocket fuel on it, you strap a seat to it, and then you hit the launch button, right? Yeah. When you go up, you've had a lot less time spent, a lot less time wasted, a lot less money spent, a lot less money wasted. Mm-hmm. And that's how I want to look at life. I want to be efficient, but efficiency doesn't always mean safe, right?
Okay.
And I think that depending on who you are, your definition of safe is different.
Yeah.
But I think that God comes into it. My faith comes into it a lot.
Yeah.
And I also I don't like seeing people stuck where they're at. Anytime anybody says, oh, I feel stuck, my question is, why? And my follow-up question is, what are you doing to get unstuck?
Wow.
And I wish more people went through that.
Yeah, no, that's really good. I can even think through the years knowing you. I feel like anytime that I have mentioned an idea or a thought or a concept to you, your response is always just like, okay, go do it. Like, try it, learn from it, grow in it, like, figure it out as you go, as opposed to, and I was going to get to this a little bit later on, but let's actually hit it now. Like, this idea of like analysis paralysis.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this has been something that, like, years ago I had to overcome, and that I think can keep us in that place of stuckness, if you will, to not moving because we just think and think and think and never do. Can you speak a little bit to that and how to overcome analysis paralysis while still walking in that wisdom, that discernment? What does that look like?
Yes. Okay. I explain things in weird ways, so just follow along with me for a
I
second, and I
love it.
promise
I
it'll
love
make
it.
sense.
That's
Okay.
why you're successful, Taylor. Okay.
Oh
That's
no,
why
no, I don't know about
you
that.
think different. Okay.
True. That is very true. Um, we were created in such a way that our brain and our thoughts want to protect us.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
We were created in such a way that when you touch something hot and you burn yourself, you then know not to do it again.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We are trained. If you've ever seen somebody, like, you ever been at like a pool party, right? And there was somebody there who couldn't swim. And then
Yeah.
you went to try to push them in. They're going to fight with everything that they are
Yeah.
to not get pushed into the water. And
Yeah.
it doesn't matter how deep the water is.
Mm-hmm.
It could be 3 foot deep and they're still going to be like, no, I can't swim. I'm not going in.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We are wired as humans to protect ourselves, which makes a lot of sense. In pretty much every situation, you want to protect yourself. You don't want to put yourself into harm's way, right?
Right.
The problem with that is that I'm going to make a bold statement here.
Okay.
Is that
Make it.
analysis paralysis, where what you asked about, that is just an excuse that your brain is making to try to protect yourself.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. Because normally when you go through this thing of analysis paralysis, so just for anyone out there, analysis paralysis is where you get to a place where, like, you want to do something or you want to try something, but then you get stuck in, like, researching and Google searching and using ChatGPT and trying to figure out every little detail before you even take the first half step into actually doing something. Okay. Yeah. And that is your brain going, if you do this, it could be a little risky. It could put maybe your financial security maybe at a little bit of risk. It could put your social life at a little bit of risk. It could put I don't know, whatever, your relationships at risk. It could do whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we should actually do this. And so your brain makes up an excuse to go, wait, we need to know every single detail before we do anything. And I get that. I get why people are concerned with that. And I get why people have that. And honestly, it happens a lot, that a lot of people don't even realize it's happening.
Yeah.
My biggest thing is that you can learn everything you want to know, but until you actually do it, I would argue you don't know anything.
Oh, wow.
And this is what I mean by this is I could look up a recipe for banana bread on Google. And I could do all of the Google searches about banana bread and how banana bread is made and why it works and what ingredients to the exact gram should be in the banana bread.
Yeah.
I could follow everything to a T. I could bake the banana bread. I could take it out. I could set it on the rack. I can let it cool. I can cut it. I can eat it. And then absolutely despise the flavor of banana bread.
Yeah.
You did all this research to get to an end product that you don't like, that doesn't taste good.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because whoever made that recipe online, whoever put it there, put it because they like it.
Yeah.
And every single person. And so all the research you're doing has been written or come up with by somebody else who likes this or thinks this way. And we're all unique. We're all individuals. And so, like, I would just say you have to take the steps so you can actually know what works and then learn on the way.
Wow.
Rather than trying to learn everything before you get started.
Dude, that was good. Man, talking about Frogs and banana bread. Come on.
Hey, we'll see what comes out next.
We'll see. Oh, he's taking another sip. Oh no. Oh no. That water's hitting him.
Right.
Okay, so you mentioned earlier on that your faith is a big role for you.
Yeah.
And wow, was that your neck cracking?
Yes. Did you hear that?
I could hear that.
I did not realize that.
That's crazy. Oh my gosh. Oh, I was like ASMR now.
Right.
But can you elaborate on that? Okay, so you don't walk in analysis paralysis. You overcome that by just understanding, okay, as I go, I'm going to learn more, and it's better to take steps and learn along the way. But how has your faith and your walk with God impacted your confidence to take those steps and move? And if you want to get personal and even share some stories about this, feel more than free. You also don't have to. You can just address it kind of more big level.
Yeah. I have a lot of different answers to this that they all relate to each other and they all kind of flow within one another. I think one of the things that I have come to this, and on it, I'm going to be really honest with you. I don't actually think this is biblically supported. Okay. It doesn't go against the Bible, but I don't think it says this in the Bible. It's just one of my own personal beliefs. Right.
Okay.
If you ask a lot of people, if you pray to God and you ask God for something, how does he answer?
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people will say, oh, he answers with a yes or a no. And if he says yes, we go and do it. If he says no, we're not going to go do it. Mm-hmm. I do not believe that.
Okay.
I believe that God answers in one of three ways. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. God either says yes, God either says not yet, or God either says, I have something better.
Wow. I like that.
Okay. And when you I hate to use this analogy, but when you exercise your faith muscle, when you're actually spending time with God, when you're spending time in the Word, when you're spending time in prayer, and it's a big one, when you spend more time listening to God than talking.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Then your faith comes into play, because I believe that I'm going to get an answer that's either yes, not yet, or I have something better for you.
Wow.
And when I look at any of those three answers, I can't get hurt over any of those answers. Mm-hmm. It's only encouraging. It's only pushing forward. It's only a plan to prosper. It's only pushing me into the plan that God has for me. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And so I can't ever be disappointed or upset. It doesn't mean that I don't get disappointed or upset.
Yeah.
And I think that my biggest problem is probably, even though I may sometimes feel like I'm getting a response of not yet, I just like push through and do it anyway. I'm like, no, it's fine. Like, I'll do it now. It'll be cool. And then I realize like a year later that I probably should not have done that.
Yeah.
But I'm in a much better place now that I could have done it now, and it would have resulted in a completely different outcome. Right. Mm-hmm. I think of David going up against Goliath, and Saul and everyone else being like, no, don't. Yeah. And he's just like, nah, cool. God's got my back. Yeah. Right. I'm dramatically paraphrasing here. Right. I think that in Matthew 14, it says, Jesus said, come. Mm-hmm. And so Peter got out of the boat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And you don't think that there was risk with that? Like, you don't think that there was like, I don't know, maybe like I could drown. What's going to happen to me now? Yeah. But it says Peter got out of the boat and walked on water and came to Jesus.
Wow.
And that's how I look at my life. And I read this book that I would highly encourage anyone and everyone to read. It's called Words with God by Addison Bevere. Mm-hmm. And Addison is actually a great friend of mine, an incredible human being, but it's all about prayer. And one of the things that he talks about in that book, because it's always been one of my biggest questions, is like, how do I know if the voice I'm hearing is me or the voice I'm hearing is God?
Right.
How do you know? Right. Yeah. Like, is this just, I really want to go do this or God wants me to go do this. And he talks
Yeah.
about this in the book of having a strong prayer life and leaving room to listen, not just to talk and all these different kinds of things. But he kind of takes it and goes, the biggest thing that I will tell you in this kind of thing is you need to be God aware.
Okay.
Right? Of where if you're trying to make a decision or things are happening, are you just thinking about what you can do to fix that problem or come up with a solution? Or are you going to God? Like being God aware, being in prayer almost constantly, consistently, like even in just your head,
Yeah.
right? Of
Yeah.
I'm going through this, God, just, hey, be with me. Hey, peace. It surpasses all understanding. Just cover me. Right.
Wow. Yeah.
And I think it makes a really, really, really big difference because I've taken risks before that I should not have. And
Yeah.
I've taken risks before that have paid off in incredible, dramatic ways.
Yeah.
But I know that God has had my back the whole time. And I know that I'm at where I'm at and I'm who I am today because of the risks that I took and because of the scenarios that I was put in.
Yeah. That's so good. So what would you say to people who may be feeling like torn and feel like, okay, I have this decision ahead of me and there are some risks associated, but I've prayed on it, I've thought on it, or maybe, they're not spiritual, but they thought on it and they feel like, okay, this is a good next step. This is the next move. This is the right thing to do. Um, but there's that fear in the back of their mind. What if this doesn't work? What will I do? What would you say? Because I'm sure you found yourself in situations like that over the years. What would you say to encourage them?
Well, if you are spiritual and you've been praying about this and you're doing this, trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding.
Yeah.
Like Proverbs, it's there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But that's a very cliche answer. Okay.
Yeah.
I would say just go do it.
Okay.
And I think that one of the caveats with that, okay, is okay, what's random gonna come to my head now? You want to start a coffee shop.
Oh, there we go. That's good.
Okay.
That's better than
That's a good one, right?
frogs.
You really want to start a coffee shop.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think the way that most people's brains work is that when you go, okay, this is a good idea to start a coffee shop, what that means in their heads is, okay, I have to go find money to rent a building, and then I'm going to have to renovate the building, and then I'm going to have to get the bean grinder and the espresso machine, and I'm going to have to hire staff, and I need a cash register. And honestly, I need a logo that looks really cool.
Yeah.
And I need a brand name that's like super easy to market. Oh, and I need an Instagram account, and I need this, and I probably need to file for an LLC, and then like, how do I do taxes? And then you get into all of that, and then you're just lost, and you don't ever take any steps.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you get so overwhelmed, it's too much, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Brandon, if you came to me today and you said, I really want to start a coffee shop, my immediate response to you would be, okay, cool, do it. Your response to me would be, what do you mean? How? My response to you would be, Brandon, have you ever worked in a coffee shop?
I have not, Taylor. No.
If you want to start a coffee shop, go work in a coffee shop for 3 months.
Yeah.
That way you actually understand how the business works.
Yeah.
You understand what it's like to make coffee every day for other people for the next 3 months. Learn the business first, right?
Yeah.
Then you're like, okay, I did that. Like there's always a different way to do something that's not doing something all the way. You don't have to do something all the way to still be walking in God's plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't have to do something all the way to still have it go well, right? Like there's people that I've seen, I don't know anybody personally, there's people on the internet that I know who they had like SUV and they wanted to start a coffee shop. And so they literally bought like a mini version of a food truck.
Yeah.
Right? It's like a little trailer that has a thing lift up that they have an espresso machine in that they make coffee out of, and they go around and park it on the side of the street. Like,
Yeah.
that is cheaper than renting a coffee shop and renovating and doing all this kind of stuff.
Wow.
And like I can get into like crazy details here,
Yeah.
like taxes and LLCs and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't matter until you're making money. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Not a single ounce of anything matters until you're making money. And so don't put a whole bunch of attention on it until you've gotten to that place.
I love that. That makes a lot of sense. I've been that guy who's felt like, okay, I want to do this. What are the next 304 steps that I need to take in order to do this? Instead of just sitting down and saying, okay, what's the right next best step that I can take to do this? And I think that's really, if I could boil down what you're saying, kind of what you're saying, not be naive to what's to come in the future, not to be dumb about it, right? But to be aware, okay, I'll cross this bridge, but I'm not there yet. I still got a whole journey.
The 304th step does not matter until the first 303 are done.
Oh, that's good. That's it.
Here's another analogy for you. Ready for this one?
I love it. I love it.
When it comes to dreams and goals, so many people want to walk in on the ground floor, push a button, and ride an elevator to the top. The real world does not work that way.
Yeah.
You need to go open the door. You need to walk in. You need to find the stairwell. Then you need to take the first step. Wow. Then the second step. Then the third step. All the way up, however many flights of stairs there are.
Yeah.
That is how you get to where you want to be.
Wow. I love that. The analogy king. That's the descriptor I forgot in the beginning of the episode.
Right. Cooking right now, bro.
Okay, so through your journey, where you've started a lot of companies, have they all been successful?
No.
Have they all been fruitful in the sense that they taught you something?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So even if somebody goes out, were you going to say something?
No.
Even if somebody goes out and they start something and they fail at it, really that failure can just be used for the next thing, to learn, to grow, and to be successful in whatever you do next. And I
think that that's actually the hardest part for people. Right? Is an overarching thing of going out trying to achieve anything. And I think this applies to young people, this applies to old people, this applies to everyone in between. Yeah. But this fear of failure, this fear of, what are my friends going to say? What are my parents going to say?
Yeah.
What is my boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, husband, spouse going to say?
Yeah.
What is my pastor going to say? What's my best friend going to think? Right? And there's all of those things where you're putting all this external pressure on yourself that no one else is actually putting on you unless you allow them to.
Yeah.
But this fear of failure, that things could like go wrong. And specifically when we're talking about like younger people, right? This next generation. I am 32, so I'm not that old, right?
No. Don't let the gray hair deceive you, friends.
Exactly. But the thing is like, listen, here, I'm going to give you guys, and I'm sure you've been told this before, is that if you're in high school, you are going to think that you are the busiest you've ever been in your whole life. And then when you go to college, you're also going to think that, nope, this was busier. This is the busiest I will ever be in my whole life. And then you graduate from college and you get your first job, and then you have to go to a job and you have to do then you're going to think, nope, until you start having kids and you do then no, you're not busy. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care how many clubs you're in. I don't care what your GPA is. You're not busy. You're not busy. Until you have small humans who are depending on you to stay alive. Okay. Then I'll give you some grace. Only then.
Only then.
But it's like, if you're young and you want to make a difference in the world, you want to do something that hasn't been done before, or you want to do something that other people do, you just want to do it better, or differently. Like, you have all of the time in the world. And so why would you be scared of, what happens if I do this and it doesn't work in a month?
Wow. Yeah.
It's a month. Go do it again. And if you don't try and you're just sitting there, you're going to be in the exact same place in a month from now as you are right now. And if that's where you want to stay, then great for you. I'm happy for you. I love you. You're awesome.
Yeah.
If that's not where you want to be, then you have to do something to change it.
Wow. I love that, Taylor. So as we kind of unwind and wrap up here, I got a couple last questions for you. All right.
Let's go.
So you kind of mentioned, if you worry too much about what's this person going to think, you're never going to do anything. At the same time, you also do need wise voices in your life, directing you, steering you. So how would you recommend to people to choose those voices and which ones to kind of, I don't want to say block, but kind of limit, and which ones do you lean into?
Yeah. So first off, I will say, you need mentors. You need people, accountability partners. You need people in your life that can speak into you.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, whether you realize it or not, or whether you want it or not, you need a support person or people behind you as well.
Yeah.
I didn't do any of this alone. And I'll tell you, my wife has had so much to do with where we're at today, and yet she's never done a single piece of business. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But she has had the biggest impact. The first company I wanted to start, I met this guy at church who was selling stuff on Amazon.
Yeah.
And I asked him to go to lunch with me.
Yeah.
And because I wanted to learn more about what he was doing. And I had a day, like a 9 to 5 job, and I wanted to ask him what he was doing. And so we went to dinner or lunch, I don't remember. And we sat down and I was super interested in this. I was like, this sounds so cool. I want to do this. And my initial thing was like, hey, do you want a partner?
Yeah.
And he was like, no, I don't. And I said, okay, cool. Do you want an investor? Okay. Now, keep in mind here, my wife and I, when we graduated from college, we had 6 figures in debt. Mm-hmm. We had no money. After saving and scrimping and borrowing money and doing all these different things, we had gotten our place where we still had several $1,000s on credit cards, not in a great place. Yeah. But we had like $12,000 in the bank that we were saving for our first house.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when I went, do you want an investor? In my head, I went, I have $12,000 in the bank.
Yeah. Yeah.
He said, yes.
Huh.
I said, I could probably invest $10,000. So then I had to go home to my wife and say, hey, this money that we've been saving for like 3 years to buy our first house with, I want to take that money and I want to invest it in a business. And obviously she had her concerns, well warranted.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, she trusted me and supported me and let me do that.
Yeah.
And a year and a half later, we had bought, because of that business, a year and a half later, we bought a house.
Yeah.
And then 3 months after that, we paid that house off.
Wow. Wow.
And so that's not like an arrogant look at me, I'm bragging here.
Yeah.
And that, like, a lot of things had to happen in the middle of that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But her supporting me and trusting me was massive in terms of like mentors and people you should look up to. Really, when I look at people that I want to get poured into from, I look at people and I go, what do they have that I don't? And do I want that?
Wow. It's
very simple.
I was going to say that's like alarmingly simple.
Right. Very simple.
I love it.
What do they have and do I want it? And if they have something that I want, then I'm going to be attracted to them and want to spend time with them and want to learn from them.
Wow.
And let them speak into my life. If I don't want what they have, then I am probably not going to go and talk to them. Like, I'll be like, just really honest. Like, my wife and I have been married for 10 years.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. It's incredible. If someone has been married less time than me, I'm probably not going to go to them for marriage advice.
Yeah.
There are a lot of incredible, amazing people out there who have gone through divorces that were not of their own control and not of their own fault. And I don't condemn any of them.
Yeah.
But I will probably not seek those people out for marriage advice. Doesn't mean they're bad people or anything like that. Just that's my own personal thing. It's like if somebody's been married for 40 years and I have questions about my marriage, that's who I'm going to go to.
Wow. Yeah.
If I have questions about my spirituality or my faith, then I'm going to go to people who have more knowledge about than I do. I mean, Brandon, how old are you?
I'm 25.
25. So you're 7 years younger than me. But age doesn't play into it. I believe that you have a better understanding of the Word of God than I do. So if I have a question about that, then I have no problem going to you about it. Right? In business, if somebody has done something that I haven't done, but I want to do, if somebody has made more money than me, then I want to be around them. If somebody has innovated in a certain way or started a certain number of businesses, then I want to go to them for advice because they have what I want.
Dude, that's really good. And that ties into kind of the last question that I wanted to ask you, which is, you've been very successful, and you wouldn't, I mean, I'm probably say that about yourself. I don't know, maybe you would, but you also, you have such a humility to you. And I think it's proven by literally everything that you just said in that last statement. I mean, you're not walking into every room saying, the baddest and the best. I mean, you're looking and saying, hey, what's this person have that maybe they could offer that I could learn from and I could see. And so I think that's really, really a special, amazing thing. How do you cultivate that humility in the midst of success to keep that perspective towards others?
Yeah. I think it has to do with it's situational, and it's also the atmosphere that you put yourself in, right? I don't want to go to things where I'm the quote unquote biggest person in the room.
Yeah.
I don't want that. And that's not something that I aspire to be. Like if someone asked me to go speak at an event for college students about starting a business, then yeah, I would probably go and I would do it to help that person out.
Yeah.
But in terms of like me getting advice, like I'm going to go once again, talk to people that have what I want. And I've learned something about, being successful in business and doing these different things that I don't consider myself successful. Not yet.
Okay.
I think a lot of people would look at me and call me that. But I don't, because dude, I'm 32 and I'm still at the very beginning of the story. And as soon as I consider myself to be successful, I think I'm taking my foot off the pedal. And things will just slow down and then fall apart.
Wow.
I think that when you talk about like being humble and doing different things, like that is what I want. But I also think that I have been in situations before where when I first started businesses and I was first starting to make some money, I had my first couple of experiences of people judging me for certain things. One of the first things I bought when I first started making money was a really nice car.
Yeah.
And I had people being like, "Oh, Taylor's got this fancy car now." Oh, like, and I just don't ever want anyone to define me by anything other than who I am. And as soon as you start giving yourself labels or putting labels on yourself, now you're defining yourself by something that you aren't, and other people, and you're giving other people permission to do the same thing.
Wow.
And so, I think that I have to keep learning and I have to keep searching. And, I'm never going, like, I would say, like, my response to myself would be not with that attitude, but I would say, like, I'm never going to be Paul. Right? Not with that attitude, Taylor. That's what I would say to myself. But like, I'm never going to be Paul.
Yeah.
I'm never going to be Brandon Major. but that's okay because we have different goals and we want to do different things, and we're called to do different things. Right. And so it also, like, a lot of this too, dude, a lot of it, man, comes into a comparison game. Right. Of comparison is what will kill you. I'm never going to be the most successful businessman. I'm never going to make the most amount of money. I have no desire to make the most amount of money. I have no desire. Like most people, a lot of entrepreneurs are like, what do you want to be one day? They be like, I want to be a billionaire. Like I have no desire to be a billionaire. That is too much money, which means too many problems. I just want to be me, and I want to help as many people as I can along the way.
Wow, dude. I love that heart. That's so cool. Which is, which I would just say, not that, oh my gosh, me with the flattery, but you're the same way outside of a recording, right? Like you genuinely live this. You serve in our church, right? You've come to our college worship nights with, I don't know, 100 college kids in a room and run the production for us, right? And so it's not just something you talk about, it is something that you live and that I've seen. And so I'm grateful for that. And I think that's key, man. Young leaders coming up, even whenever you feel like you're getting that success, walk with that humility. Remember who you are. Remember what God's made you to be, and he will bless that. So
keep your attitude of looking at everyone else around you in a sense of who can I serve rather than who can serve me.
Yeah, that's
good. And
good.
if you do that, you're gonna be good.
Dude, that's so good. Any final comments you'd like to make on any of this, or totally off topic? That's scary. I'm allowing.
Right. Have you read any interesting books lately?
Have I?
Yeah.
I am reading. I'm in the middle of a book right now. It's a thick one. And you want to know what's really funny? It's a leadership book, and I'm about 2/3 of the way there. I have no idea what the name is.
I love that. Do you know who the author is?
No. I'll send you a picture after this.
Is the book good?
It's good. Yeah, it's learning how to be assertive as a leader. It's all about assertiveness. So
yeah, Brandon, be more assertive, dude.
That's what they tell me.
That's not assertive answer. Like, oh, that's what they tell me to do.
I love it.
How is your first couple months of being married? Look how the turntables have turned.
Oh my goodness! Now you're counter interviewing. That's wild. First couple of months of marriage are going great. Would you like some marriage advice?
Yes.
I'm kidding. You said if I've been married less than you, I'm not allowed to give it. So
right.
No, marriage is great.
But there could be somebody on the podcast who's listening to you that either wants to be married or has only been married for 1 month, and you could give a piece of advice that they could listen to, and they should listen to it.
This is true. I think it's really easy. This is going to sound dumb because I've been married 2 months, and it'll probably get easier. It's really easy to, once you're married, just stop dating each other, I feel like. And I feel like just never stop doing that. You know, we're both pretty active in a lot of different things. And so we have to just guard time and make sure that we have intentional space that's just reserved, or else something is going to fill that. And so that's been something that we've learned. Haven't done it perfectly. Didn't do it perfectly when we were dating, engaged, or married. But it's something that we really strive to do, is keep that consistent time with one another. So
I love that.
Yeah. What about you, Taylor? What's your marriage advice? What's your parting marriage advice?
It's never you versus your spouse. It's always we versus the world.
I like that. That's good.
It took me 10 years to get there, but no.
10 years. Congrats, man. That's incredible.
Thank you.
That's great.
Thank you.
I love it.
Well, Brandon, I greatly appreciate your time and asking me to be on here. And listen, this is the end of the podcast, so folks, we'll see you next time. No, I don't know. I'm just gonna close for you.
We'll see you next time, friends. Thanks for having me on, Taylor. Bye-bye.
Oh, you're welcome, bro.